take your seat, if you please raise your right hand. My clerk will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Miller.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, can you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Chad McKersie. My last name is spelled McKersie.
And sir, how are you employed?
I am a police captain with the Grand Rapids Police Department.
All right, so Captain McKersie, correct?
Captain McKersie, correct.
All right, and how long have you been employed with the Grand Rapids Police Department?
I have been employed as a police officer since January of 2000, so over 25 years now.
And could you just give me a brief synopsis of your experiences and positions over the years, please?
Certainly. I first started as an intern at the Grand Rapids Police Department in mid-90s, and then I got my college education, returned, and was hired as a patrol officer in January of 2000. I worked the road patrol for about 3 years, mainly in the South Service area. I then joined what we call the SRT, the Special Response Team, or the SWAT team. As a police officer, I did that for approximately 6 years. I left the SWAT team, went back to the road. I was chosen to become a community police officer. Joined the community policing team for about a year, and then I was promoted to sergeant. After I was a sergeant, I went back to night shift patrol as a night shift sergeant on the road. Did that for just a few months before I returned back into the SRT as a sergeant and team leader in the SWAT team. Did that for approximately 2.5, 3 years. In that time, I left and went into the detective unit. I became a detective sergeant, overseeing our general case team for about a year, and then moved into our family services team as a sergeant and ran that. Family services handles domestic violence, sex crimes, things of those nature. After that, I did a couple years there. I was promoted to lieutenant, and what we then joined, went back to the road as the watch commander. Our watch commanders or lieutenants run our road patrol shifts for the night and for the day during that. Was there for about a year and a half, then moved into our internal affairs unit. Was the commander of our internal affairs for 16, 17 months for the department, and then an opening became available in the training unit. At that time, the training unit was commanded by a lieutenant. I was at that rank. I took that position and ran our training unit for about 2.5 years. From there, I was then promoted to captain, and I moved to the West Service area as the captain of that team for year and a half again, and then another opening came in support services. I moved into support services. Support services captain handles a lot of the admin work, a lot of the IT, buying the equipment, getting the fleet, the cars, and a lot of paperwork just to get all the stuff that supports our officers out on the street with the equipment that they need. From there, I then, last September, moved to be the commander of our North Service area in Grand Rapids. It was an honor to be the North Service area captain because that's where I grew up. I'm from Grand Rapids, so it's a privilege to be the commander of the patrol teams over the North Service area, and that's where I currently sit.
Need a drink of water?
Thank you.
So appreciate that, and that's sounds like you've had quite a few duties over the years. Now, have you also had, and you may have mentioned this in there, I apologize, I looked down at my notes a couple of times, but have you had duties as a master taser instructor? I
have several other additional duties throughout those years, what we call an additional duty. I was a taser instructor, firearms instructor, defensive tactics instructor, and then I became a master taser instructor when I was in the training unit.
And just to touch on historically, you've been with GRPD since what year?
January 2000.
All right, and has the Taser been within Grand Rapids Police Department for quite a few years?
Yeah, it was introduced while I was on the SWAT team as an officer, so probably 2005, 6. I don't know exact dates, but it's been a tool for our officers for almost 20 years, maybe.
Now, as a master Taser instructor, how many master and Taser instructors does the department have at one time?
Typically one. At times we have two. We try to get someone certified as a master Taser instructor and then have someone go the next year. So we have an overlap because the master Taser certification only lasts 2 years. So we want to have a master Taser instructor in-house so that certification doesn't lapse at that time.
What are, how do you obtain this classification as master Taser instructor? What were the requirements to earn that role?
To become a master Taser instructor, you have to attend the training through Axon. Axon's the company that designs and created the Taser. So you go to a 40-week, 5-day class, wherever it's held. Mine was held in Los Angeles. You go to that facility, go through the training. For its classroom, a test, a lot of practical exercises, designing stuff. They also teach you how to become a better instructor while you're there, when you're doing it.
And upon conclusion of that course and in earning the role as master Taser instructor, what do you do then when you go back to your department with that training?
With that classification inside the Grand Rapids Police Department, I train Taser instructors for the department. And then those Taser instructors instruct the officers in the classroom environment how to properly use the weapon on their belt.
Now, sir, did you mention you've also been, is it commander of the Internal Affairs Division for a year or two?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a significant amount of familiarity with GRPD training and in overall use of force policies and practices that were in place on or prior to April 4 of 2022?
I do.
And do you have a significant amount of familiarity with GRPD Taser instruction and practices on and prior to April 4, 2022?
I do.
At this time, I would move to have Captain McKersie recognized as an expert in a couple of things. GRPD training, policies, practices with regards to the Taser device, and training, policies, and practices of GRPD related to use of force.
No objection.
All right, so he shall be considered an expert in those fields.
And when I say use of force, in just the general overall policies of GRPD related.
Yes, sir.
To the general duties as far as automobile stops and the basic performance and policies involving those matters.
Yes, sir.
So, but he's an expert in training policies and practices regarding
Taser,
and
use of force, and then also just general overall police duties, police functions within the Grand Rapids Police Department. I apologize for making that.
duties and functions.
Correct.
Any objection to that additional area of expertise?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so then he shall be considered an expert in those 3 areas.
Sir, I'd like to ask you some questions related in particular to the Taser. We had another witness who testified about several topics. I'm going to try not to go into a lot of the same things all over again, okay? But just to get into a few areas in particular related to Taser, and then ultimately get to some specific questions about the case here. Now, sir, the defense is calling you in this case to testify, is that right?
That is correct.
And has the defense talked to you several times over the last 3 years?
Yes.
And has the defense asked you a significant amount of questions about GRPD policies, trainings, and just the general practices of GRPD?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you also testify on matters related to this case about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I testified in the original preliminary examination for this case.
Okay, and were you under oath at that preliminary examination?
I was.
Now, have you ever prepared a report, a final conclusion report or anything for either party?
I have not.
Were you ever asked to?
No.
You testified 2.5 years ago, and was the prosecutor present for that?
Yes.
And has the prosecutor or detective on this case ever reached out to you and asked you for more explanation on any training policies or just general overall practices of GRPD?
No.
If they would have, would you have been happy to talk to them?
Yes.
Your office is about a block away from their office, is that fair to say?
That is correct.
Now, going to the Taser, what model of Taser did GRPD use on April 4, 2022?
At that time, we were using the model Taser 7, the T7.
And where would an officer on duty on that day, where would they carry that device?
We mandate they carry it on the opposite side as their firearm, so you have to do a cross draw to pull that, access that weapon off of their belt at that time. The main reason for that is we don't want ever under stress to think you're pulling your Taser and you actually pull your firearm. Your firearm's on your dominant side if you're right-handed or left-handed, and so we mandate it's on the opposite side, so you have to make a distinct motion to go get that device to use it at that time.
Now, besides the Taser on that belt, what else is an officer wearing when they go out on a shift for GRPD for the most part?
On their utility belt, if you will, what they wear is, obviously you have your handgun that's in a holster. You have 2 extra mags of ammunition on your belt. You have OC or pepper spray on your belt. There's an ASP baton, 1 or if not 2 sets of handcuffs on your belt, your radio, as well as your Taser device.
And then how about, and you may have mentioned this, vest, do you wear a vest?
Yeah, every officer on the road is mandated to wear their bulletproof vest underneath their uniform. In today's world, you see a lot of exterior vests. This is the uniform that Officer Schurr was wearing was like this. So that is how we're equipped.
When you add up all of that equipment, approximately what weight, if you know off the top of your head?
It's roughly around 20 pounds, 25 pounds. Obviously, my vest and belt might be bigger than skinnier people, but so.
All right. Now, we talked about going back to the Taser 7. The manufacturer, Axon, they make other models as well. Is that fair to say?
That is.
And, sir, did you have the opportunity to sit through the testimony of prosecution's expert, Mr. Bloomfield?
Half of it.
Okay. And did you sit through the testimony of the prosecution's expert witness, the law professor?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear some of their opinions related to this case?
I have.
Did you have an opportunity to read their report?
I have.
Sir, does it appear that they may have been referring to an older Taser model than the Taser 7 in some of their opinions?
Yeah, it was testified to as well as in the report of, in one portion they considered the optimal distance of 7 feet standoff. It was documented in the report between 7 and 15 feet, and that is the rule that was in place for older model Tasers, not the Taser 7.
And we'll get into some, but were there some differences, the Taser 7 that Officer Schurr was carrying compared to the older models?
Yes.
Okay. So going forward in the testimony, Officer Schurr had a Taser 7. If I refer to Taser, can we just agree we're talking about the Taser 7 unless I say something different?
Understood.
Now, under the GRPD use of force policies, what level of force would the Taser 7, would the Taser be within?
It is considered an intermediate weapon, so that's where it falls in our use of force.
And how about OC or pepper spray? Where is that located?
That is a lower level of force. The OC, that is used for verbal noncompliance, active, passive resistance, lower levels of resistance that officers would observe.
Does GRPD, do they consider the Taser a less lethal form of force?
Yes, we do.
Now, is that consideration in the hands of a trained police officer?
That is correct.
In the hands of an untrained officer, would GRPD classify it as a less lethal form of force?
If an untrained police officer, they wouldn't be allowed to carry it.
Well, let's just go into that, because I think Detective Tubergen touched on this a little bit in his testimony, but an unlicensed person, as far as what are you required to have in order for any old citizen to carry a Taser?
In the state of Michigan, if you were to obtain a Taser, you need the licensing, like a concealed permit, as well as the training and certification form for
Okay.
that device.
And is that whether the battery's in it, no probes, no anything within the device, are you still required to have that licensing to even touch the device by law?
Yeah.
And what's the classification of an offense if the person does not have that licensing?
That would be a felony in the state of Michigan.
Now I'm going to ask you, I'd like to get into some of the Taser training, but just backing up a little bit, okay, because I can't recall how much this was discussed, but just to give the jury a little bit of context as far as training goes. When an officer's hired into Grand Rapids Police Department, what's their initial endeavor, or what do they first get involved with?
Right. We either send people to the academy to get their state certification, or they put themselves through the state certification. So then they are considered a certifiable police officer.
I don't mean to cut you off there, but what's their state certification?
State certification is a 15 to 17 week course, or sometimes in some colleges it's spread out over 2 years, but it is the certification through MCOLS, the Michigan Commission of Law Enforcement Standards.
And what is MCOLS just in general? Does MCOLS also have standards that every police department is required to follow or abide by?
Yes, MCOLS sets the standards, the basic standards of what a police officer needs to be certified in and to hold the status of a police officer.
And is GRPD certified or accredited, or do they follow MCOLS standards?
Yes.
What do you say what MCOS stands for?
Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you to say the whole thing every time. No more MCOLS.
I apologize.
No, I'm just joking. Let's stick with MCOLS. Now, once cut you off, after the person goes to an MCOLS certified academy, and then what?
When we hire that individual, we put them through either a 6-week or an 8-week orientation. Sometimes we shorten it if it's a small class. If it's a bigger class, it's typically an 8-week class. Inside there, we now train them how the Grand Rapids Police Department does our policies, procedures, manual of conduct, and our use of force. We certify them in the Taser. Obviously, we certify them with our firearms. We certify them with every tool that they have in their belt, certify them with their pepper spray. We go over how to do traffic stops. We go over how to do contact and cover. We go over, how to police a burglary report, how to police a CSC, how to police domestic violence. And then after that 8 weeks, we swear them in as an officer for the Grand Rapids Police Department. After the swearing in ceremony, they go into our field training program. It's a 16-week program at minimum that they go into, and it's divided up into 4 steps. Each step, the trainee is always partnered with a field training officer. And on each step, their level of work that they're supposed supposed to do gets bigger. Starts off at like 25%, then it's 55%, then it's almost 100%. And then like the last 4 weeks is they're like shadowed by their FTO to see if they can do the job appropriately. And during that time, that's documented, you know, their mistakes, their successes, and you know what training was needed to improve skill sets here and there to make sure that they are good and on a solid basis to move on and go on to solo patrol.
Okay. Now, just going back to Taser training, where is the officer initially trained on Taser usage?
During our 8-week orientation.
Okay. And then how about after they're done with the 8-week? Is there continued
We have
training?
annual recertification of the Taser device every year built into our training programs.
And is that just only the department that requires that, or does the manufacturer? I can't recall.
I believe it's the manufacturer's policy to recertify every device or every officer with that device.
Now, when you instruct the officer going all the way back to the 8-week in-house, does the manufacturer provide the department with materials that the department then uses to train the officer?
Yes, we are mandated by the manufacturer to use the most up-to-date version or PowerPoint that they provide to us to go over the slides and educate the individual on how the device works, you know, basic understanding of electricity. I believe you heard from Brian Childs from Axon explain some of that stuff. We go over all that in detail, and then we go through the practical exercises, you know, practice just pulling it out of the holster, arming it, you know, aiming it, how it works, the laser, the light, the nomenclature of the device. And then we put them through real life scenarios, well, simulated real life scenarios, you know, with role players. Role players wear protective suits, and they have certain training cartridges that we can use that are safe to do so you're not getting tased during them. It would just be for the target location on an individual in certain environments, when to use a taser, when not to use a taser, those things.
Now, are the officers then tested to assure their understanding of the Taser?
Yes, there is a written test as a part of their initial certification.
Now, we heard from Mr. Childs already, but just to confirm, are the, on the topic of warnings that's given by the manufacturer, are those warnings forwarded on to the actual officer who's going to use the device?
Yeah, they are presented with the same warnings that are in the PowerPoint, and they're gone over in that training.
And just in general, what are officers taught about the Taser device and its capabilities?
They are taught, and it's clearly stated in the PowerPoint, that the Taser device is a serious weapon and should be treated as such at all times.
At all times?
At all times.
And are there any warnings as far as the capability of the device to cause injury or death?
Yes, there are a few throughout the PowerPoint that claim that this device can cause serious injury or death.
Try not to go over everything that Mr. Childs already explained, but just in general, this Taser 7 device, how many cartridges could that hold?
It was equipped with 2 cartridges.
And can you give us just one more snapshot of deploying a cartridge and what that does?
Yeah, the device is equipped with 2 cartridges at that time. And there is a close quarters cartridge and a standoff cartridges. We went with one of each. So the close quarter cartridge is in bay 1 and the standoff cartridge is in bay 2. Bay 1 means if you pull the trigger, that's the first probes that are gonna go out. Close quarters has a 12-degree spread. So if I use my fingers, the top one is straight, like Mr. Childs says, the bottom one's at a 12-degree angle down. It's designed for that close range deployment to get that optimal 12-inch spread for potential neuromuscular incapacitation at that time. The second cartridge is called a standoff cartridge that has a 3.5-degree spread. So obviously the spread is minimized. So you can do it from a further distance of that individual and still try to obtain that 12-inch spread if the probes hit that individual.
And if I could just approach the witness, Your Honor, with People's Exhibit number 23.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a little easier to have the device in your hand. as
No problem.
he
Thank you.
explained it, but, we've already admitted that. Does that appear to be a Taser 7
Yes, it does.
without the battery in it or any probes?
There is no battery. There are 2 cartridges in here, but no probes in it.
Okay. So, so that actually has the cartridges on there.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
push this top button, they come out,
All right.
and you can see the difference. One clearly states 12 on it, the other one's 3.5. They also have it designed by color, so you know which one you're putting in the proper location.
Now, does Axon warn, and then you in turn warn the officers that you should avoid using the taser on certain parts of the body?
Yes.
And are the trainees taught that if you administer the device on sensitive areas of the body, that in and of itself could cause serious injury or perhaps even death?
Correct.
Can you just list I'm not going to ask you in depth since Mr. Childs went through quite a bit, but just in general, what are those areas that officers are trained to avoid?
Yeah, obviously, and you saw in the pictures of the green little dummy, whatever, the yellow area of the head, the neck, and the chest, the heart to dart thing. So the preferred areas are the green, so the extremities, the large muscle groups of your legs, your entire back. But we want you to avoid the head because of the eyes. You know, we're sending a probe that has a straightened out fish hook. We're avoiding the neck area of the individuals, as well as trying to avoid directly over top of the heart, as well as the genitals. I don't want to forget that.
All right. And even after both cartridges are deployed, okay, and the probes are out there, the 5 seconds passes, does that device have the ability to re-energize the probes and even the wires?
Yeah, if both probes are deployed into the field, the arena, or whatever you want to call it, you could re-pull the trigger and activate all 4 probes as well as the wires, or you could hit the arc switch on either side, it's ambidextrous, which has been pointed out.
And sir, I was going to go through the voluntary. Our officers provided the opportunity to have a voluntary tasing, or recruits actually, back during the 8-week.
Yes, they are.
And we already had a witness testify and go through some of the video on that, so I don't want to necessarily go through it all over again, but is that required, or that the trainee take that on?
It is not required, it's encouraged. We want them to understand the capabilities of this device and feel what neuromuscular incapacitation is. We also want them experience that when you are experiencing NMI, if I can use the shorter version,
Please.
That you can still hear commands from the person that is tasing you. So they know when the ride is over that they understand what the officer wants them to do at that time.
And is the setting for this voluntary, is it a fairly controlled setting?
It's a very controlled setting. It's a very sterile environment. Everyone is required to wear eye protection. We offset everybody, behind where the probes are going down range, so there isn't an errant probe that accidentally strikes somebody. We have spotters there, so a lot of the risks of a taser is the uncontrolled fall that could create a lot of injury as well. And so there's spotters, or we'll start them on their knees or even laying down to avoid that fall risk. You can still accomplish the same goal and experience NMI during that time from a laying down position as well as standing.
We went through the video yesterday, and have you had the opportunity to review the voluntary tasing of Christopher Schurr here back in his academy? And if you recall, and I can pull it back up, but approximately how far was the device from Officer Schurr when the probes were deployed?
In the video that was displayed, Officer Schurr was laying down. The instructor that tased Officer Schurr was probably 1 foot or 2 foot. It's not super clear, I think the spotter's in the way, but you can tell the proximity was very close, and I believe it was to the lower portion, to his legs.
Even at that closer distance, does it appear as though Officer Schurr still felt the effects of the device?
Yeah, you definitely can tell by his reaction, the immense pain that he's experiencing. And in my opinion, it was a lower extremity, lower hemisphere. You heard that term from Mr. Childs, exposure. So you can see him kind of crawling still because it didn't get that full above and below lockup, but he definitely couldn't use that leg, or if it was in both legs at that time.
It appears as though he did not have the ability to really control his whole body during that experience.
Correct.
And what model was that back in 2015?
2015, we were using the X2. It is the 2 generations below the Taser 7.
Did the X2 have something different than this Taser 7, particularly with its ability in those close range situations?
Yeah, the X2 was equipped with different cartridges. They were designed at a 7-degree spread, and that's was designed, again, trying to get that optimal 12 inches, and that's why they changed, or they continue evolving their product. But at that time, the X2 had a 7-inch spread, not the 12-degree like the close quarters or the 3.5 standoff.
So if we had the video with Officer Schurr, similar distance with the Taser 7 device, with the first cartridge that's deployed, what might be expected as far as where it may
If you did the voluntary exposure with the Taser 7 with the close quarters at that distance, they would get a bigger spread, more likelihood of experiencing full NMI lockup at that time.
So going back to the academy, was Officer Schurr trained going all the way back to the academy, I call it the academy,
Right.
the 8-week, that it's acceptable to use the device within closer distance? Would that be fair to say?
That is fair to say, yes.
And it appears that even at a closer distance, even with the older device, it still had a pretty significant effect on Officer Schurr. Is that fair to say?
That's very fair to say.
Now, when the probes connected with Officer Schurr, I think Mr. Childs mentioned this, do you all sometimes refer to that as taking the ride?
Yes, we do.
And how long does the ride last?
It is designed to last 5 seconds.
What happens if the person continues to hold, or they repeat the ride after 5 seconds?
It depends on the configuration of the device, the software, the computer of the device. If in older models, if you just held the trigger down, it would keep going for as long as you went until you actually let go of the trigger. In the Taser 7, they have that automatic shut-off that will stop the device after 5 seconds. But it can be re-energized at any time. Any other trigger pull would send a second cartridge, or if you hit the arc switch, you re-energize the one set of probes that are downrange.
Does Axon warn against repeated or continuous deployments or
Yes.
ignitions? And I apologize if I'm using the wrong terminology on this, but now are officers therefore trained not to have continuous or necessarily repeated applications, to have some limit on that?
Yes, officers are trained, if you're not getting the desired behavior change, try a different tactic. You don't want to keep using one thing over. It's more dangerous with the Taser because you're putting that much energy into an individual, and I'm not a medical person, but from my training, is repeated exposure to extreme amount of pain. The body's either, adrenaline's going to go really, really high or dump, and that could be dangerous at that time.
Sorry, I'm just trying not to ask you some of the same topics, but just moving on. And I believe this was covered with Mr. Childs, but both cartridges already deployed, and then subsequently an individual has contact, even just contact with the probes or perhaps even the wires, the trigger is pulled. Or why don't you explain, can those probes and wires be re-energized?
Yeah, the probes and wires can be energized once they're outside of the device and either in a person, on the ground, or wherever they're at. So anytime you reactivate this device by, again, pulling the trigger or pushing the button intentionally or unintentionally, it's going to cycle again for another 5 seconds. So that energy is out there.
Now, even if both cartridges are deployed, I know we've talked about this, but does the device still have a drive stun capability?
Yes, it does.
And are GRPD officers trained on how to administer that?
Yes, they are.
And are the materials from axons, as far as warnings about drive stun, are those forwarded on to the trainee or the
Yes,
officer?
they are discussed.
And is it warned to officers that drive stun alone to sensitive areas can cause serious injury or death?
Yes, it's in the material, and we go over it.
Now, sir, were you able to listen to the testimony of the prosecution's expert, the law professor?
Yes, I was.
Mr. Stoughton? And he characterized, did you hear him characterize a drive stun to a thumb?
I did hear that.
Do you have kids?
I do?
You let their kids play with their thumbs in their hands, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Would you let your kids, untrained in particular, play with a drive stun?
First off, it would be illegal for me to do that. But no, I would not. Absolutely not.
You mentioned continuous pain and how the person may dump. Now, what if somebody, as far as the drive stun function, somebody who's depleted, exhausted, a continuous drive stun, could that have some type of effect on them in this dump?
Yes, it could be. Yeah, if a person is exhausted, that a level of pain would be dangerous.
Have you been drive stunned before?
I have.
And is there anything that you characterize the pain to, or other folks that
Yeah,
have had
it's
it before?
commonly perceived as a blowtorch. It is extreme amount of pain. It's localized pain, but it is unbelievably painful. Yeah, so if you were to press a blowtorch against your skin, you'd want to get away from it as fast as you could.
A Grand Rapids Police Department officer, and we'll stick with the drive stun function. When is a Grand Rapids police officer trained to use the drive stun? How?
The drive stun capabilities are primarily used for a third point of contact, to close the circuit of, if you deploy 2 probes and one misses, you can touch them with the device activated in another spot on their body to close the loop, close the circuit, so the energy goes through the top probe, through the person, and then to the end of the device, and then that could create the neuromuscular incapacitation.
I'm gonna stop here and take a break, for about 15 minutes. So, jurors, so we'll come back at 10:35. Meanwhile, jurors, please get your notes right down in your chairs, and remember to not discuss the case with each other or anyone else. Not to the room. Also, please all continue to avoid access to, news reports about this case in the media or in social media. We'll see you back in 15.